Hello, hello. Welcome to another edition of the Football Exponential Show. On the show today, I've got my very good friend Franklin. Franklin, you want to say hi to our viewers and listeners?
Good day, listeners. Good day, viewers. Thank you for joining us on another episode of the show. Welcome back. I can see you've got what are you wearing? You're wearing a Barcelona shirt this evening. Okay.
If you are a constant follower, if you're a supporter of the channel, if you've been on our various editions, you would really understand why I'm coming up with this jersey today and how excited I must be feeling right now. I'm off the roof. My excitement is off, and I can tell that it's the same for a lot of coolers around the world. I guess this is one of the editions and the episode I've looked forward the most. And yeah, Frank, to your question, why am I putting this on? I'm putting this on because we witnessed a masterclass football session yesterday from
Well,
gentleman Hansi Flick and all of the soldiers on the field yesterday. Soldiers by every stretch of your imagination. But yeah, those are some of the things we'll be unpacking today. We'll be looking at everything that happened in Champions League, especially with the big twos. The big twos in the German football and the big twos in Spanish football. There was a head-to-head very interesting challenge across the two match days in the Champions League for match day three. And we will be unpacking all of the excitement that happened within the game with Real Madrid versus Borussia Dortmund and the real FCB clashes, the FC Barcelona and FC Bayern Munich. We'll be unpacking that and we'll see which one came up top. But yep, these are some of the things we'll be covering today, and of course we'll be sprinkling conversations here and there with the anticipated chat, um, with the anticipated match that is coming in with a classical this Saturday. Why don't we get started? I'll let you go first, Frank. How did you feel? Which of the games were more exciting between the Bayern and the Dortmund game?
so I think we're going to start with the more exciting game that was Real Madrid Dortmund. They can keep the other game for the latter part of this recording. So I think let's start with Real Madrid Dortmund. And I feel that was a more exciting game, in my opinion. I got more joy from that game.
Okay, yeah. So
So,
this, I feel like this edition is going to go a little bit back and forth because there are a lot
okay.
of similarities as we go forward. Yeah, I can tell you a few of them is like we've got a Brazilian, and in this case, it appears to two people that walked out with a hat trick in that exciting game.
Okay.
If you fill in the blank, you see that Vinicius had an amazing game against Borussia Dortmund, and of course,
Incredible
there was
game.
a fantastic Rafinha's performance against Bayern Munich. So again, if you, from your point of view, believe it's a Real Madrid show on Tuesday and that supersedes what happened in Barcelona, I'll let you be with your opinion. But I guess the scoreline determines the most important part of our facts here. But moving on, let's see. If you were a coach, Frank, would you be happy with a 5-2 victory or 4-1 victory?
No, I think this discussion is also a bit superficial. It doesn't really matter what you get, five
If
two
you're a
or
coach, I just kind of want to know, like, because it kind of tells a little bit where a coach point of
no, but
perspective could be with some of these things. Like, the coaches will be like, you know what, I absolutely want to keep it tight at the back. The least goals I can consider better for me. And there are some coaches who are like, oh, you know what, I want as many goals as possible. So,
no,
from your
but
point of view, how
yeah,
would you feel?
but I feel like from a coach's point of view, I feel a lot of coaches or a lot of football coaches believe you learn more about your team in tough situations, especially in
Mm-hmm.
big games on big occasions. And with Real Madrid's performance in the first half, that was a very tough and sticky situation. And how they reply to that in the second half just shows the character in this team. The character, the amount of Champions League know-how, the experience, and just the general quality of this Real Madrid squad. So just for our viewers, Real Madrid came back from a two-goal deficit at halftime to dispatch Borussia Dortmund, the German Tottenham, by 5 goals to 2, with a hat trick from soon to be crowned Ballon d'Or champion Vinicius Junior. But I think should we talk about Madrid? Should we just go straight into Madrid's game?
Yeah, because if you think about it, right, there's a very nice narrative they've painted out there, right? It was 2-0 at halftime, but guess what? It was still 2-0 at the 60th minute. So credit to Real Madrid. They needed just 30 minutes and some other time to give in a masterclass
And
of
yeah,
five goals.
and it's always as like because I think no, we've been talking going back and forth today, and one of the points I made to me was like Real Madrid are probably they are very unique in a way where they don't need to perform for the whole game, or they don't need to play at their best for the duration of the 90 minutes. They can get if they can hit their form, or if they can hit a good form for sometimes 10 minutes, 5 minutes. And on this occasion, as you said, they had a good 30-minute spell where they just blew out Borussia Dortmund on the night. So it shows the quality. But for me, let's go to the beginning where Madrid started very sloppy in the first half. It was very sloppy performance, very lethargic performance, especially in midfield. They gave Borussia Dortmund a lot of sights at their goal. And when you give a team that has the likes of the kind of players Dortmund have in attack, or even in midfield, Julian Brandt, Sergio Girassi in attack, and Dolly Marlin on the wings, a lot of pace, a lot of good finishing, they will punish you. So Dortmund they go 2 goals up quite comfortably, I would say. They go 2 goals up quickly, but there's a bit of reaction from Real Madrid after 2 goals going. Jubilean had a fantastic chance where he could have gotten his first goal of the season, but he fluffed his lines.
Oh,
And they
he hasn't
hit,
scored
and
this season, Jude?
you know he hasn't scored this season for Real Madrid,
Oh
so
no,
let's not.
I probably. Okay, thanks for the reminder. I probably forgot. Go on.
No. But he's yeah. They hustled and puffed for the first time. They couldn't get the first goal, but they go in at halftime 2-0 down. It's everyone online is already panicking. Okay, this is not good. This is all that. The the whole situation is looking dire for Real Madrid. But they go in halftime, they come back, they look more. There's a bit more change. Like Ancelotti said, they just didn't really do much tactically, but he just told them like, don't worry about scoring 3 goals. Worry about doing your next action perfectly. Worry about your next pass, your next tackle, your next interception. Worry about the next cross. Make sure you do those. Then we build from that. We build confidence. And are playing at home. This is the Bernabeu. This is a stadium that's used to prestigious Champions League nights. They will get us there. So they come back in the second half, and I feel they get a bit of help from Borussia Dortmund's coach, who makes a quite, I won't
Bit
say
of
defense,
help
but
or a lot of help?
I'll say because I'll say a bit of help because it goes to it takes off the exciting English winger Jamie Byton Giddens, and
Mm-hmm.
introduces the centre back, and he goes to three at the back in order to cover the spaces in wide areas and still have that counter attack threat from the wing backs. But as soon as that happens, in less if fewer than 5 minutes, Real Madrid get a goal back from the ever present and ever amazing Rudiger, who seems a player that captures Real Madrid's current spirits, the fighting character. They never see that attitude, the resilience. That's the player in Rudiger who pulls them back 2-1, and that's where the fun starts happening. That's when it clicks for everyone. You see the crowd, they get up. Vinicius is awake. Mbappe is more involved. Rodrigo is looking comfortable. Modric is finding the passes, already winning tackles, winning 50-50, and they start gathering momentum, and they scored. Who scored the second goal?
It
Um,
was Vinicius.
Vinicius get the second goal. They equalize 2-2, and from there, Dortmund just collapsed. They started making, and this is where the experience tells in Champions League in terms of the two coaches, where you have Nuri Sahin, this is his first senior job in football, and probably one of the most experienced managers currently employed in football. Where Ancelotti at this point in time hasn't made a change. He's still stuck to the same level. But at this point in time, when they've gone 2-0 down, he's trying to make different changes, trying to stop it because at that point you can't just stop Real Madrid's momentum. You can't wrestle the ball from them. You can't stop the shots that have been rained on your goal, and eventually go three. They eventually go 3-2 up with
Vasquez.
Vasquez that captain, which was a fantastic. I think that's probably no. I was about to say that was probably the goal of the night, but the goals of the night came subsequently after the third goal. So they go 3-2 up. Then from there it's just the Vinicius show where it show where because it shows how much of an athlete he is, where you see the intensity in his pressing, the hunger to make things happen, the running power, the dribbling, the creativity, and also ultimately the finishing. Then he gets two fantastic goals that puts daylight between Madrid and Dortmund, and it then ends up looking like a comfortable performance. But I feel it depends on if I'm Real Madrid, this is where I take the lesson from this game is I take it like what lesson I take from this game is that we need to play with more intensity. And I feel with the talent they have, the amount of quality they have in that team, because most times I've watched a lot of Madrid this and I feel they've not really played with a lot of intensity in terms of the running of the ball, the coordination of the ball, and just the overall hunger in their play. Seeing everything is a bit patchy at best. So I feel if they play with more intensity, that could. I know it's tough because you can't really sometimes game states dictate how aggressive you chase the game. And being 2 goals down at home, then you play with more aggression. But I feel if they can play with more intensity, especially in that front line, more running, more pressing, what they're good at, the chances will come. And they have some of the best finishers in world football in their front line. Yeah, I'll pass it to you. What do you think? Because I know when you were watching the game, you saw 2-0 Dortmund losing. How did you feel? Did you feel, is it set off another Real Madrid comeback, or were you quite happy knowing that your enemy are bleeding on the night?
Well, to be honest, when it was 2-0 up, I was excited because I was expecting Dortmund to seal the game out. Again, putting things into context, Madrid has not been particularly very impressive this season. So they've always played like against their opponents, they've always had shots conceded, right? So for me, I was like, other games, they've not really had an opponent that would take the advantage of the chances and put the game to bed. So it felt like that was what Dortmund was going to do, um, given the first half when they were 2-0 up. But somewhere at the back of my mind, I'm like, this is a dangerous water to tread, and this is why I feel so. I was like, if Madrid loses that game to Dortmund, it's gonna be all fire and brimstone in El Clasico. It's gonna be a do or die affair. It's gonna be like right now. I feel like the cracks are being covered, right? So he's going to let it linger. But if that game ended 2-0 or even 2-1, there's going to be a different motivation towards El Clasico, although that's a conversation we would unpack maybe later on as we discuss. But that was part of the things playing in my mind. And then the second half started, and I think 5 minutes or thereabouts into the game, I saw that substitution. I'm like, this
It
is
seems
this is this
it's
this is a
it's
this is the difference between internship and
Antonio.
actual job.
Yeah,
This is it
Antonio. Yeah,
because you first of all, the fact that Karim Adeyemi could not play that game was already a disadvantage to Dortmund because
yeah,
that is the kind of game that he would have excelled extremely, because there will be
yeah.
those pocket of spaces, there will be that long ball from Brand down the line, and he'll be able to exploit the space and do whatever. So him not being there is already bad. But then taking out, in my opinion, the most productive attacker on the night for the first half.
That carried the most threats on the counter
He
attack.
carried the
Like,
most threat on the counter attack. He was moving with the ball in the first half.
yeah,
It wasn't just he just was just lucky to get a goal. No, he was actually involved. And then in my mind, I was like, what is the rationale behind this? And as though that was not bad enough, Henry Chan for right back. I think that was the problem. That was
yeah.
that was the point
That
where
was
Dortmund was
that.
like, "Hey, Vinny, here is the stove. Get cooking." That was it.
Yeah, 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 Vinny.
That was it. Here is the stove. Here is the pot. These are the sauce. Get
Just watch it.
cooking.
Just watch it so it doesn't get dry. Just let it on. So at that point, Madrid was on low heat. But it's like, you know what? Vinny, this pot is a bit warm. Turn on the pressure. Turn on the
And
gas.
knowing Vinny, knowing the quality that he has, knowing Real Madrid's presence in the Bernabeu, I immediately I saw Emre Can come in,
And
and
right,
immediately I saw him go to the
right wing
right
back,
back.
right wing
I
back.
was like, geez. And if you see the fourth goal, that is the epitome of everything that I was talking about. That was just like the apex of the nonsense that Dortmund coach was thinking.
Yeah,
A ball
but
was
is it?
retrieved by Jude Bellingham
Yeah,
right in his own half, closer to the corner line, and it was a straight sprint. Like he needed no flick, he needed no dribbles. He didn't have. He just needed to keep run. If he literally wanted to run angle on a straight line, he would have run angle on a straight line until he was ready to make a curve into the box. It was that seamless.
yeah.
And trust me, Vinicius would mistake these chances. And again, in my opinion, the second goal was the first goal that Vini scored, which was the second goal for Real Madrid of his 3 goals. That was more like that was the momentum builder for him because it's not like he was overly involved in that goal. It was
Yeah,
Mbappe
that's
tried to
when.
hit the shot and then the thing just kind of fell in the spark and it finished. And for me, that would have just been okay based on how he has performed in the game. Prior to then, he has not really been he has been constituting his usual nuisance, dragging players in and out, but he has not been effective. He has not been taking, you know, dangerous shots, pretty much. But after he put that ball in the net, that was it.
That's
That was
but it's
Vinicius getting the spring to
but
take
it
that game over,
shows
take that game
but it,
over.
but it shows even like the funny thing in football is it shows how confidence is still it simply is a big factor to a player who's so accomplished, so well developed, so well rounded, and has won big trophies. It shows how because he gets that goal and you can instantly see the
You see the boost. You see
you
the
see the
boost.
exactly you see the energy boost in his body where he looks a different player to a player that was in the first half and a player that has played for majority of the season so far where he was hungry. The press there was this instant where he pressed from the goalkeeper to the right back and he wins a throw. Then you see him he makes gestures
It's,
towards the
yeah, to
to
the fans.
Cup and they have this good relationship between the fans in the stadium at Bernabeu and Vinicius, where whenever he
You request of
desires
them to increase the
exactly
share.
to
They
increase
do. They actually
to
do. They
so
do.
they always oblige him, and that just took Real Madrid the extra level. And it just shows this is it. This is the difference where at this stage in football or at this particular competition where this shows the difference between the two benches, Carlo Ancelotti and Nuru Sahin. And it's a mistake we see a lot of coaches make on a weekly basis, probably where you're away from home or you're probably at home. You're having the results that's in your favor, but I don't know if it's fear or panic, but they make a change where they take off an attacking player to bring on an extra defensive player. But when you've been playing so well with the same defensive numbers you've had, why change it? Why change? Because once you take away that attacking
The
outlets,
attacking threat. Sometimes
exactly,
attack is the
it's
best
if
form of
attack is
defense.
from yeah, because it's not just like because at that point when you take away that winger that was giving Vasquez the deputizing right back on the day a lot of issues
Mhm.
off the ball and on the ball, you then free him up and we see he gets forward, or he can then get forward now to even you see him getting third goal counter overlapping down the right wing. So I feel this is still this is a learning this is probably a learning call for this young coach, and I'm sure he will take a lot of lessons from this. I know that this won't define their season, but it depends on how they react to this defeat. Because I know so far they've had fantastic results in the Champions League, notably 7-1 win against
Yeah, no,
Celtic.
they
So
came
so
in on
so
a high.
it's
They came in
so
at the
it's
top of
so
the
it's.
table. Yeah,
But I just feel this is where you look at it like, okay, if we're trying to play certain stuff, because you saw them last on the road to the Champions League final last season, they relied heavily on the counter-attacking power they had in that team where they sit deep
yeah,
against PSG, and I guess like when they sit deep, then they counter with Karim Adeyemi, Dolly Marlin, and the striker they had then. But let's look, or should we cover? Let's cover Barcelona, then we'll come back and look at Madrid going forward to the Clasico and Barcelona going forward as well to the Clasico.
yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely agree.
So in the other all Spanish and German clash this week was FC Barcelona meeting their Champions League nemesis Bayern Munich, who are not Barcelona, who are now being coached by ex Bayern Munich manager who inflicted on Barcelona probably the heaviest defeat in Champions
Mm.
League. Was it
Yeah,
8-1? 8-1.
I know what you're trying to do, Frank. I know you too well.
I, I,
I know
it
you
was
damn
it's
too
it's
well.
it's no it was a
It's
knockout. That was called
it's
8-1.
it's not 8-1.
I think it was 8-1. I think Suarez got a
It's
consolation.
it's it's
8-1.
not 8-1. It's not 8-1.
Okay.
And I know you want me to deliberate with you on the difference of it was a bad defeat, but it wasn't 8-1.
Well, well, it's okay.
Okay.
But yeah, he inflicted on Barcelona the heaviest defeat in the Champions League, and he meets up against his old side where there's a bit of I won't necessarily say bad blood, but there's a bit of tension between him and the Bayern directorship over there. So Barcelona come out with a resounding win. I won't say I won't say comfortable win, but it was a very solid performance for for a team like Barcelona against an opposition. This new Bayern Munich with Vincent Kompany as head coach. I feel this is the performance that announces or puts Barcelona's intentions as one of the contenders for this season's Champions League, where you can dispatch a team like Bayern Munich so confidently and without really playing at your best, in my opinion. So, what do you think about the victory for Barcelona? You've been on my line all day trying to get my attention. This is your moment. This is your moment. So,
Well,
what do you think?
first thing to mention, I think I need to be paid extra for every prediction that I get right because it seems like it
Yeah,
keeps getting better.
but just sorry, question. But we nearly got the Real Madrid Dortmund prediction right.
Prediction.
Vinicius hat trick goal just robbed us of that. But for Noah, I'll allow that. Like he can have the hat trick. I'll take. There's no shame in losing that prediction. But back to you.
Yeah, absolutely. So the game was not by any stretch. For those who didn't watch the game, the score line it represents the action on the game, but it doesn't tell the full story. I think from the second minute after Barca scored the first goal of the game, which was literally the first minute of the game, from the second minute up until Bayern got the official equalizer, because there was an equalizer that was ruled off. Hurricane's first goal was chopped off for offside correctly, and it was one of the dividends of playing the high line. But from that second minute up until the 20th minute, it was all Bayern. They were raining, they were peppering the Barca's goal. It was diagonal crosses here and there. Olise was having a sweet time sending the ball over to Gnabry. Gnabry had time cutting in and out. Kane it was literally occupying both centre backs. It was dropping deep. The only thing I feel like could have happened differently, if I were to think about it in that first half, is that Thomas Muller shouldn't be starting that game. If you want to play a
We'll,
high
we'll,
pressing game,
we'll get to that.
yeah,
I think we'll get because I have a lot of opinion about on Bayern Munich side because I was quite disappointed. So let's focus on Barcelona and how Barcelona executed and went about their business.
yes.
I
So
will,
so I feel like that 20 minutes, Barca suffered, and and on a different season, maybe by a certain coach, that would have been a wrap. That would have been Barca losing that game 3-1 due to mentality, due
are,
to
are,
the
you- are,
quality
you-
of
are
players.
you are you saying it for your ex manager Xavi?
That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying on a different. It could be any of my exes. It could go all the
No.
way to the Dutch guy. It could go all the way to the other Spanish guy. That it could be any of them, and
Okay.
Barca could have lost that game,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
in
That's
this
fair.
situation, there was a switch in mentality. I felt like after Barca conceded, it was more like, you know what, let's go and show people that there's a new era. There are new players who had points to prove. Um, Amazing game for Macasado. I've always sung his praises this season. I've been singing his praises even before Mark Bernal got injured. Um, he just brings something different. He's that player that a lot of people expect Kimmich to be in a CDM. That is what Macasado is.
That's
We-
Kimmich. That's I'll write it down. That's another player. I'm probably going to talk about. Well, personally, I'll talk about. So just yeah. So that's
Yeah, so
Muller Kimmich.
I'll leave you to handle the roast of Bayern Munich because I know you have a lot to say. I mean,
Yeah.
it's always like that when Barca win. It's the other team that hasn't done
Yeah.
well, but it's okay.
Uh,
We saw how you ran praises on Real Madrid as though they were excused for starting slow, but it was nothing to do with Dortmund's inability to hold the lead. It was perfectly Real Madrid comeback. Now that's
okay.
fine, but right now, sticking to Barcelona, Macasado, in my opinion, should be Barca's top three, one of the top three. And I don't know how you want to rank those top three. Yes, this season,
Top top three
top three
players this
players.
season.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
And I will say this without any doubt. And it's
Okay.
difficult for you to choose whoever you want to choose. But a game without Macasado, Barcelona you would see a different level. And I hope if for any chance Hansi Flick hears me out, I hope he doesn't give us a handout to Frank de Jong or even Gavi, as much as I love those players, to go in and take the space of Marcasado. They should earn it. And it's going to be a lot to ask for any player to earn that
Okay.
starting position over Marcasado right now.
Okay.
He was there intercepting the pass. He was leading the high presses. He was releasing the ball as quickly as possible, and he was covering every space that needed to be covered. He was
Okay.
that good.
Okay.
And then moving on,
Moving on to his midfield partner Pedri. I know
uh,
you have a lot to say
Pedri
again.
was
So
just Pedri. For me, Pedri doesn't have anything to prove. But for a lot
okay.
of you and on some other people who have different opinions, which I respect and not necessarily agree to, um, Pedri is world class.
Oh yeah, for
Pedri
sure,
is
for
Pedri.
sure, for sure.
I said it the other time on one of the episodes when we were saying goodbye to Iniesta. I said Pedri is the nearest thing to Iniesta that football would see, and people did not understand. Some people thought I was on a high, but
You've been
Pedri
ha-
is him.
you've been
He
hyperbolic.
was him. He
Yeah,
would go
yeah.
on, he would go around the tight spaces. He would do everything. And guess what? Even as much as Pedri has evolved over the last couple of, sometimes people forget that he's just 21-year old because of how
How early?
how
Yeah,
consistent and how well his quality has been. But guess what? He has added even a defensive capability to his game this season that I didn't even imagine that
I
Pedri
agree.
had.
Yeah, yeah.
I
He's
had
got
never
his.
imagined that Pedri would play as a deep playing um,
Deep line
midfielder and
playmaker.
still be able, yes, and still orchestrate the game, deciding the fate of the game. And if you just to encapsulate what happened in that game, I saw Pedri draw back, especially the goal that Yamin Amal assisted Rafinha. I just want you to have that mental play again. He received the ball just top of the edge of Barcelona's box, and it felt like the counter was on. Rafinha was on the sprint. I think Rafinha was on the sprint. Lewandowski was making the run, and he made the move as though he was going to pass there, and immediately the Bayern players were covering that space, only for Pedri to take a pause. In our eyes, it felt like maybe 2 or 3 seconds. But in Pedri's, the aura at which he took that pause, it probably felt like he took a 5 minutes break because he just slowed down everything, released the ball to Yama, and the rest is history. And
Yeah,
those are the kind of things that statistics would not show you because at the end of the season, you probably might check Pedri's stat and see, oh, I don't know, this season probably had
yeah.
20 goals or what about, but he's not that player. And that is also something that Iniesta shares in common. Iniesta doesn't have the greatest football stats, but he was there for clutch moments. Moving on to Pedri, another player that I feel like people are not singing enough.
Wait. You just talking about Pedri just now. Who again? How many Pedris do
Yes,
you have?
I said moving on from Pedri, there's another one. There
Who?
is Fermin Lopez.
Okay.
Fermin Lopez was amazing. Fermin
So
Lopez was,
okay. I'll give you 10 seconds to talk about Femi Lopez. Because we have bigger fish to fry. We
oh
have to
my
talk about
goodness, this is a big fish.
no no no
Tell me
no no
when. Tell me
no no.
when. Tell me when was the last time? Listen. Tell me when was the last time you see another 20-something-year-old? Maybe Femi Lopez might be slightly older, maybe 22. He was starting that game against all odds. A lot of people didn't expect him to start.
No, I expect them to be in the lineup.
A lot of people didn't expect him to start. To be honest, he took that game personally. Imagine Pedri, which is literally half the size of Kim, giving a nudge to Kim and Kim losing the control to clear a header. Pedri was Fermin was everywhere. Fermin Lopez was everywhere in that. Like he was the one leading the press alongside Rafinha, and it was an amazing game. I don't want to mention Rafinha because I feel it's stating the obvious.
No no
Rafinha's
no
hat trick speaks for
no.
himself. He,
But you know what? Let's touch on Rafinha last. Talk
yeah,
about
and Kubasi is
yeah.
another guy that you guys are not giving the respect that he deserves. People forget that Kubasi is just 17 years old.
Talk to us about Kubasi.
17 years old, world class centre back. I don't see any centre back in Barcelona right now going in there and taking that position from Kubasi based on performance. It can be for every other thing, media, marketing, whatever the case might be. But based on
No,
performance, I don't see anybody going there and taking that.
I
position
think
for Kubasi.
alongside, I know the likes of Rafinha, Pedri, Lewandowski, you always get the plaudits and the accolades. But for me, I feel, or I felt for the longest time, Kubasi is probably my favorite Barcelona player right now, because it's, let's also put it in context. This is a 17-year-old, right? 17 year
Yeah,
old
17-year-old.
17-year-old academy product
Yeah.
who's starting week in, week out for one of the biggest clubs in world football, coming up against some of the best attackers, not just this season, but even last season. I know
Mm-hmm.
last Barcelona
Shut down Osimhen, shut down
Bas-
Mbappe last season.
Barcelona had a tough go at it some parts of last season, but in the big games in the Champions League against away at PS Paris Saint Germain, at home at Napoli, and even at home, against Paris as well, the return leg before the red card, he's looked in all aspects of his play. He's comfortable in it, where he doesn't get into situations where you be found out as a centre back, as defending wide channels. Even considering Barcelona play one of the highest defensive lines in European football, and it was on show again today, where they were basically smack in the middle of the pitch, and they were just asking for Real Madrid for Bayern to just chip the ball or just hit the passes over them and exploit their highline. But I feel Bayern didn't quite didn't quite know how to get about. They always, I found them going. They were going the other way around, where instead of going through the middle, they were going through the sides to hit to the middle, and which they get the equalizing goal from that move where Ganabi crosses the ball
Yeah,
and finds,
Garnacho made a cross
yeah,
to
find
Kane.
exactly.
That was a fantastic cross, by
That
the way.
was a good goal. But I feel the confidence he brings, the composure, the ball playing, his ball carrying, his passing, long passes, short passes from centre back are probably one of the hallmarks of this new Barcelona with Hansi Flick, where it's basically like you're playing with an extra playmaker at centre back, but not just a guy he's there as a playmaker, but he's also an astute and diligent centre back for such a young age. I've watched a lot of football in years, but the only one I can think of that's playing at this level at this young age is probably Matthias De Ligt at when he was captain at the Ajax team that made their way all the way to the Champions League
Mm-hmm.
semi-final way back. Other than that, I can't really think of any player centre back at that young age playing consistently for a club that big, and it just shows the tradition where Barca they give these players. I think on the pitch, because I counted when the line was Barca had about 8 Spanish players starting for them.
8 La Masia players in it.
I don't know if it's because I don't know if it's Spanish. Let me just go get a quick count. So there was
Yeah, because I can help you
so
out
there's one
here. Inaki Pena,
in Peña, Kubasi,
Balde,
Balde.
Kubasi, Casado, Femin,
So there's seven.
Yamal,
So there's seven.
7.
So there's seven.
La Masia.
La Masia, Pedri, La Masia ish. So
No,
I'll
no,
give it.
no, no. I didn't count him. Let's just leave it. So 7 La Masia and yeah,
Yeah, but seven La Masia and 8 Spanish players
yeah,
starting for Barcelona, and that is quite unique. And not just starting; they also on the bench. You have another bunch of them coming off the bench. But
yeah.
let's talk about the man of the match today, who I don't know how much Vinicius inspired him the night previously with his hat trick for him to go on and execute at this level. And I feel like this conversation we had a long time ago, and I told you a lot of players will get the credit, but I feel Rafinha for what he brings to this Barcelona team. Hansi Flick's Barcelona, Rafinha is Barcelona's most important player. Not necessarily the best player, but a player that brings. It's all about the balance, and that's what when you talk about Bayern Munich, I feel the balance was all off with Bayern Munich and the lineup they put
Mm-hmm.
out. Where you have a player who's comfortable in all phases of play, comfortable in a possession heavy style, but also a fantastic player in transitions. Where on the last line, his movements off the ball was constantly a turn to Bayern's right back or makeshift right back Rafael Guerrero, and he's finishing because he's a player that's not really. He's always been a good player, but he's not had that consistent uh, consistent output in front of goal. But I feel like the overall package is, and you see how much respect or how much the coach values him, where he's part of Barcelona's leadership group on the pitch. He's one of the 4 captains right now. A few of them are injured, so but he's for majority of the season, he's in Barcelona's captain on the pitch, and that's so telling for a player that's because Barcelona captains are more the La Masia products or the elder statement in the team. Lewandowski could be is a good option as well, but making Rafinha and Flick said it was a decision made by the squad, not just the coaching team. There are a lot of players. There's a lot of trust in him from the squad and from the coaching team, and he's growing and he's growing into one of the best wingers in world football these days, where he's finishing perfectly, he's creating, he defends well, he runs for the team, presses well, creates for his teammates, and he's because I'm not quite sure how many shots he didn't have a lot of shots yesterday, but he comes
It
off with a
was
hat trick.
clinical. It was
So
three goals.
it shows how clinical he's become. So that's a massive credit to him. And Lewandowski getting his I feel like a goal that was always expected against his former club, where there's a bit
A
of
long overdue goal.
a bit of
He owes an hat-trick. For
yeah,
if
a
if
bit
we
of
look at the
tension there.
last time we played against Bayern Munich, Lewandowski owes Barcelona a
Yeah.
hat-trick.
So I feel with like with Barcelona, plays a fantastic performance. Well done to them. This is Hansi Flick. I feel this is the best a Barcelona team has looked since Pep Guardiola's time at that club, where
Mm,
you can see.
Let's
Wait.
not get ahead of ourselves.
No. I
There
feel
was an
because I
MSN. There was an
no.
MSN that
Yeah,
crossed. Okay.
I knew you call it MSN, but I'm just looking at the statistics. Like most goals scored after the first 13 games of the season. This
Yeah.
Barcelona
Just
this
behind
season,
Pep and Zinedine Zidane, 34,
exactly
34. Yeah.
43, 44. So they're just a goal behind the overall record. So it shows with the team not blessed with the best of players, not with an MSN or you have a prolific Lewandowski, Rafinha, and one of the best young players right now, Yamal. But the goals, Barcelona are averaging 3.5
3.3
goals.
goals. Yeah.
3.3 goals per game. So it
Yeah.
shows the quality in that team. But I don't think the overall package where how you defend in how they defend in transitions, the highlight. And when I say pep time, it's not just the results or the playing style, it's just the overarching performance. And where you see the high press. I've not seen the Barcelona side press this aggressively or press this wall. I know the sample size is still early in the season, and sample size is not that great yet, but the pressing is fantastic. The high line is solid. Players are on form, players are improving, the academic players are coming through. So that's a very good sign for Barcelona. And is there any more you want to add about Barcelona before I go in on Bayern Munich?
Yeah. So there's also something I want to add.
10
The
seconds.
squad, the squad players, right? When I
Yeah.
call them squad players, I don't even think if it's I don't even think
Sporting.
it's fair to call them squad players.
Role
I'm talking
players.
about the substitute.
Role
Yeah, I'm
players.
talking
I'll call
about
them.
the Ansu Fati, the Pau Victor. See, um, that guy is another one to watch out for. His moments
Okay.
would come. I think when Barcelona, can afford the luxury of more rotation and resting Lewandowski, Pau Victor is another player that people should watch out for. Um, I also feel like Dani coming into that game, even with the game already won, you can see his immediate impact.
Yeah, he was like
It was
you could see,
just it was,
I know, like even it's you're just bringing him back from a short spell out injured, but he steps on the pitch and you could see the quality. Like
yes.
he's a player that belongs on this, it belongs in this team, and it brings a lot. So, but I feel he's a fantastic player, and I feel he will contribute to a lot of Barcelona's success, whether you call success this season. He's a player I like very much, so. Yeah, but just talk about the role players before we go in on Bayern Munich.
Okay, so just to wrap it up with the role players, I feel like it's a happy squad overall. If you see with the celebration, when Rafinha made it a hat trick, ran all the way through, and the entire team followed him. It's just something I would like to call out there is that there was this unity that I feel like has not been present in Barcelona, especially last season, given the kind of comments coming out from Godogan and
It
all
has
those kind of things.
exactly, and that just sorry again to cut you short, but this is what I mean when I say since Barca haven't looked this good since the Pep days, where Barcelona have not looked this as a collective unit. The noise coming out from the press, coming out from the dressing rooms, players, staff, everyone's on the same page. There's a complete buy-in to what Hansi Flick is trying to do because we've seen like previously like the Dutchman, like you said, Xavi. There's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of question marks about the coaches, the decision making. I feel so far this season there's only been one blemish on Flick's short time at Barca, and that's the decision to
Osasuna game.
rotate the squad. But it's also a decision that probably has that might look not as bad as it seemed as the season goes on, because you then protect these players who are in good form right now. So that's a consequence of that, sacrificing that game or sacrificing the result in that game. Also, just even giving some players extra trust, because it's, as you said, you don't not calling them squad players, you call more role players. Like, okay, you're not getting a lot of stats, but we can trust you to start in this game. And unfortunately, Barca didn't get the result that day, but I'm sure at points this season we'll see a similar squad rotation as well, because you also have to manage the minutes, because there are a lot of young players. Let's not forget on the starting for Barcelona. You have to be mindful of that. So yeah.
Yeah, so no, absolutely. I think that was the point I was trying to call. I think also, Inaki Pena deserves a shout out for the game. The confidence. Not that he did anything extraordinary, but
Mm,
not buckling to the intensity of
yeah.
that game. Always being available to receive the pass, make a run. When Bayern were threatening down the road, down his goal. All of those kind of things, I think, is building the momentum nice and sweet. But overall, I think it's a performance a lot of Barcelona fans will remember for a very long time.
Yeah.
Again, and it's good to see Thomas Muller's face on the bench. I think at that
Yeah,
point I
I
was
think for
thinking,
yeah for because it's a player that's haunted Barcelona for years. So talking about Muller, and just it's quite apt that you mentioned Muller first, because on my notes he's the first player I have to talk about. So Bayern Munich. I know it's still the first in Champions League league phase, the first three games, that third game of the season, second loss so far after losing to Aston Villa away from home. But they have some good fixtures where I see them getting enough points to be okay for the next round. But I think I'll go start off with a few players, then I'll go on to the overall collective and the overall tactical aspect of what they try to achieve on the day. And Thomas Muller, that's it's just I know I have them grouped together. Thomas Muller and Manu Neuer. This has been a bone of contention for a lot of Barcelona Bayern coaches in recent years. How do you phase these guys out? Because they have so much power within the club. They can quite literally get rid of a manager themselves if they wanted to, or they
mm-hmm.
can push a manager out if they wanted to. And it's getting to a point where fantastic servants for the game, fantastic servants for Barcelona, sorry, for Bayern Munich, fantastic servants for the national team. But it's always this time is undefeated, and I feel that time has come, especially Manuel Neuer. And looking at it here, Bayern Munich have conceded 14 goals this season from 20 shots on target. That speaks for itself. He is this is Manuel. This is a player that, for in my opinion, has defined the modern day goalkeeper, the sweeper keeper, ball playing, highlight coming off the line, sweeping passes, virtually playing as an extra man on the pitch. But I feel at this point in time, this isn't a guy who was at his best a few years ago. And we saw that
Yeah.
we saw that with the clanger he dropped against Real Madrid in the semi-final. He's not the man he
I
was.
think since that surgery he had, that surgery
Yeah,
that kept
yeah,
him.
it's but even credit to, like, because he had that horrific injury, a broken leg on a ski holiday. It's quite credit to him. He had that injury. He's come back to this level, but I just feel they have to have a discussion with that position. Manu Neuer cannot be Barcelona Bayern's keeper going forward. Thomas Muller, and I feel the overall problem is just between all these players: Thomas Muller, Kim, Neuer, Muller, the centre back, Kim, Umpa Mechanic, Umpa Mechanic.
But Mecano, why are you calling it mechanic?
Because it's like
He can't move. He don't move. But
because
Mecano don't move.
no, because last season we saw Eric Dyer go to Bayern the January transfer window and started playing game for them,
Mm-hmm.
and it shows the quality of this centre backs. I know they let go from Matthias de Ligt, and one of the centre backs they brought in from Stuttgart, Aito Ikatura is injured right now.
Yeah.
But these two centre backs, Kim Mijay and Umpa Mechanic, they're not for that level. They're not for Bayern's level. in terms of whatever Bayern or whatever vision company is trying to achieve, they're not fit for purpose. They're not comfortable playing from the back. They're not comfortable in the high line. They're not aggressive enough. They don't defend wide areas enough. They don't defend the pitch enough. It's just whatever Bayern are trying to achieve. This is the mates reclaiming the Bundesliga title. Those two will put them in trouble. Another one, Kimmich in midfield. I don't know what contacts Kimmich has with this club. I don't know what kind of hold he has on this club. But Kimmich, you're not a central midfielder. You have to play right back. It's still. I still feel it's crazy in with this amount of evidence we've seen with Kimmich. He's still been put in midfield. And I know they have their star midfielder Pavlovic is out injured. I understand that, but Kimmich cannot be midfielder.
But but
Nice.
but on Kimmich's topic, right? Time over time, we've seen different managers come in and for some reason want to play Kimmich as a central defensive midfielder. So um, it
Let,
it kind of waters down the fact that he's not a center defensive midfielder. I think he can be a good one if he has to be a good one, but I just don't know. There's something always
It's
missing there.
just I just think cause quite noticeable the last time Bayern Munich got to the Champions League final and won it with by Barcelona's coach Hansi Flick. Kimmich was a right back and the likes of Thiago Goretzka were in midfield. So I don't I think he can do a job there, but if you're going up against the best sides, I feel right back is his position. Because especially with what a lot of coaches are doing these days, fullbacks inverted from right back into central positions, he can do a job there. He cannot be your quote unquote central midfield option.
But but
He can be an option,
but
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 yeah,
imagine Kimmich playing against any of those rapid wingers. I
he's
think
and,
if
he's again because even last season in semi-final against Real Madrid, he handled Vinicius quite well for majority of that game. So he's a good defender in small spaces, as a lot of defenders are. Small spaces he defends fantastically, but in midfield he doesn't move enough in midfield. He doesn't control the game enough in midfield. He doesn't bring enough intensity, enough aggression in that midfield to control it. Moving on from that's Kimmich. Thomas Muller sometimes leave the football before the football leaves you. That's it. Then Harry Kane.
Hurricane
Then
Hurricane had a good game.
yeah, he had a good game, but Hurricane has this habit, and that's this is nothing new. We all know Hurricane loves to drop deep, sometimes drop into the deeper parts of the midfield to try and
Mm-hmm.
get his foot on the ball, control the ball, and find passes. But the issue is when you do this, it's quite simple. When you have the striker like Kane that drops deep, what you then have you need players that can stretch the pitch, players that make those runs for Kane to find with those passes. But
Mm-hmm.
on this occasion, you have Thomas Muller in that position. It's not going to work. This is a player that's
Yeah, it's not pacey. It's not
exactly.
pacey. I wonder if things would have been different if they played a Sane and then brought Olise to the middle
Oh,
and put
Sane
Sane
is
to the
finished.
left.
No. Sane is finished. I think that conversation is done with Sane and Bayern Munich. He's halfway out of that club. He's finished. Another player that disappointed me was Olise. This is probably the most high, probably well not, but
But
it's
this is the
probably
biggest game of his career.
well he played in an Olympic final so for gold medal I think so I think but this is one of the biggest games or one of the high profile games he's played, most watched game where everyone's watching this game of the night. I don't feel his performance wasn't quite encouraging. And he's a player I like quite a lot, but there's one aspect of his overall game I don't like, and that is his lack of directness or lack of aggression. And we see with compared that to Rafinha, where the off the ball running, the pace, the power, all that stuff. He's the player
Yeah,
that
the
likes
acceleration is not there.
exactly. He's the player that likes the ball to fit. He's a fantastic player, but you need to put him in a good situation to get the best out of him. And that then goes back to the overall tactical scheme that was employed by new head coach Vincent Company. If you told me at this point last season that the coach at Burnley Football Club, that was Vincent Company, who had one of the worst defensive records in Premier League last season, would then on go to Bayern Munich and still have even a more pathetic performance that's worse than what he showed at Burnley last season. At Bayern Munich against Barcelona in one of the games of the season, I'll laugh you out. If you look at the goals, all four goals they conceded, and if you freeze the frame, and I ask you where in this particular at that particular time, the first, second, or third goal, where are the centre backs in this where are the centre backs on this team?
No, but they played Highline. They wanted to play Highline spread
Yeah, but
apart.
yeah,
No, Barca
that
played Highline
but it's not
narrow. They played
but
Highline wide.
yeah,
Yeah.
but that's the thing. You have to be compact. Playing high line, this is also a simple basic. If you're playing, if it's a transitional play, you still have to be transitional organization in a low block or in a high block. You have to be compact. It's just fundamentals. Regardless of high or low, you still have to be tight because again, you're playing against Barcelona with some of the best players, one of the best finishers in the world, one of the best two of the best playmakers right now in football. You have to respect them and also go there. You're playing away from home for God's sake. The last thing you want to do is okay, go away and consider a goal so cheap in the first few minutes of that game. It's ludicrous. Upamecano at some point is playing for some of the goals. You find him in the defensive midfielder position. There's no one in centre back. The two right backs are out of place. It was all a mess, and this is not the first time. And we've seen that on the match against the 3-0 draw against Frankfurt away from home, where on the counter that they kept getting bumped, where they leave because they play such an aggressive shape where they have the fullbacks going to midfield, the wingers stay high, and it's all packed in the middle, but you leave only two centre backs behind. And these are two centre backs that I feel they are quite average in a lot of defensive aspects of the game. You there? So they leave a lot. They leave a lot of space on the a lot of space to be counted on. But this centre backs cannot defend in wide areas, and it's a trouble for them. So I don't know. Going forward, they have to find a solution on how to manage games against fantastic teams they come up against. It's not good enough considering 4 goals away from home against the fantastic Barcelona side. But I think that I've lost Kingsley now. So I'll just wrap it up. For Barcelona, I think that's a good victory for them. That's what it shows how much they've adapted to flick ball in in such a short space of time. I expect them to do big things. So I believe we're going to be having a conversation about a match preview about the Clasico coming up, where I talked to our friend Charlie, who's Kingsley, who's a Barcelona fan, previewing their Clasico match, which I feel will probably be a mouth-watering game. So thank you for your support and keep an eye out for that. Thank you and goodbye.